Okay, today is January the 31st, and I, Jean Fraser McCarg, am interviewing Merrill Sarty about his life as a farmer outside Bridgewater, Nova Scotia. Merrill, where and when were you born?
I was born in Lapland in 20th of December 1928.
Okay, where do you fit in your family?
I'm fifth.
So of how many?
10.
10.
10 of us, yeah.
Okay. How many boys and how many girls?
There was 6 boys
Okay.
and 4 girls.
I see.
Yeah.
So I understand the family moved to Conquerall around 1934?
1937.
37.
Yes.
Okay. Now that was a family farm then? Your father went on to a family farm, or did he work for somebody else?
Well, no. We did quite a lot of moving.
Okay.
We moved to Conquerall Mills from Lapland.
Okay.
And then from there, we moved in with 2 old gentlemen down in New Cumberland who wanted somebody to look after them. They was very old.
Okay. What were their names?
Wambacks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we moved in with them, and we was there, I guess, about 4 years.
Okay.
And then the farm that we live on now came up for sale.
I see.
And of course, the one down there, we was back in the woods quite a ways.
Yes. Yeah.
So we want to move. He wanted to move up there, so he made arrangements with the Krauses
I see.
and traded farms and some timber off the one that we had now, and bought the farm that way.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
So when you say the Crosses, which Crosses?
That was Beach.
Beach Cross.
Yes, he was
Okay.
the father of the fellow you had here in Bridgewater for a mayor, George.
George. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he was George's. So he would be maybe a brother to Win Cross, or
No.
maybe not.
No.
Okay.
I don't-
Doesn't matter.
No.
That doesn't matter. Can you describe your parents' farm and how it expanded?
Well, when we got up there, we got into raising more cattle. The farm was bigger.
Okay.
And we had a shingle mill down in New Cumberland, which was moved up to the farm that we live on now.
Okay.
And for years, why we sawed shingles and sold them and sawed for other people, you know.
Did you take the wood right off your land?
Some of the wood, oh yes, some of it we sawed ourselves come off our land.
Okay.
But there was a lot of people then that hauled wood in there to have sawed for
Okay.
themselves.
For themselves.
Yeah.
So that they could do their own building.
Yes.
That they,
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. Well, that went on for quite a while, but after a while, like a lot of this stuff, it petered out. Fireproof shingles come in, and they was easier to get.
Yeah.
People got more money as time went on.
Yeah. Hmm.
So then we went out to shingles.
So is your farm back on or front on? I don't know how to. The Petite Riviere.
The Petite Riviere runs on one side of us.
Yeah.
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 And the road runs on the
And
other.
is that where the mill
No,
would be?
the mill
Was
was
it
on
down-
a brook. The mill was on a small brook. Yes.
Okay.
No. No, them times we probably could have. But I tried it later on years to put the rotary that I was telling you about
Yes.
before on the Petite River.
I see.
And, I went through a lot. But at last, I had to give it up.
I see.
Yeah.
And why was that? Just
It was just a few people, I don't know. Because there was one fella come out from Halifax, and he was so interested in it, he had a heart attack. And when he got out, he picked up a young fella and a camera, and out he come. And he had a letter right on the seat laying, and he said, I suppose you saw this letter? And I said, no, I never seen no letter. So he let me read it, and the one fella in Bridgewater here was the guy that apparently stopped the whole thing.
okay. So they just didn't want to have little independent sawyers
What
doing.
most people wanted, especially the salmon fishermen, was a dam for the salmon to lay in. See, I wasn't going to dam the river off. I was just going to make a dam up the river enough, across, that the heavy water would have went past me, that kind of washing me out. but I could have used the water on the inside.
I see.
Yeah.
As the water power.
There was
I see.
nothing wrong with it. There was the river
You would have
was-
just diverted some of the water.
It just got to a time when it was very hard to do anything with water.
Too much politics.
You're right there. You're right there. That's
So you were on the original farm, back in the first days, you were sawing wood, or you were having a shingle mill.
Yeah.
What animals did you have?
Well, when the little farm I talked about that we moved on to, we didn't have a lot of animals. We
I
had
see.
a pair of oxen, which was your way of life them times, and cow,
Okay,
maybe a couple of head of young cattle.
I see.
But cattle didn't amount too much of them. But
Okay,
my father played the fiddle. That helped out a lot.
Oh,
because
is that right?
That was cash, you see.
I see.
And there was no money at them times,
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. So would he play maybe once a week, every weekend?
Sometimes, maybe not just once a week, but sometimes it's quite a few times in a month,
I see.
They have dances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Now, where were the dances? Where would the dances
Mostly
be held?
out in Mount Pleasant.
I see.
Yeah, mostly
Okay.
out in Mount Pleasant.
When was that Conquerall Mills Community Hall built?
Oh, that we built. Oh, I was into that.
Okay, well, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. I
It was in
I
the 70s, I
I
believe.
see. Oh, not
Say,
until
about
about
early
the 70s.
That,
So most of your food was produced at home, though.
Oh,
You had a
yes.
big garden. And,
Oh, yes.
And most
Oh,
of your
yes.
food was produced at
Yes.
home.
yes.
And what was your mode of? Did you have a horse on that farm, or did you have?
We at one time had 3, but most of the time had a pair for years.
I see.
Yeah, 'cause
Okay.
then we got out of the oxen more because the horses, when you got on the road, they was faster to get to town and back and forth,
Yeah.
But at the farm at New Cumberland, you didn't have a horse.
No, just oxen. That was it.
Just the
Until
oxen.
We moved up
Yeah.
where we are now.
Yeah. Now, would people bring oxen? In your time, would people bring oxen into town?
My dear woman, I wish I had a picture of it. Between Hall's store, it used to be Hall's store down there, and the old Hillerman store.
That's
There
right.
was the place they tied cattle. And up back at I don't know if you remember Josh Swigger having a horse barn that he kept horses in.
No.
No, that's pretty well up in behind the old building there, across from where Gow's started off in that little store.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Up on that.
That yard up there was full of cattle.
Is that right?
Yeah, now there wasn't some horses, but a lot of oxen.
So that was sort of the parking
Well,
lot.
that was the parking
The
lot.
parking lot.
Yeah, and of course, lots of times when we hauled down through this area here, we fed our oxen just back here in the woods somewhere, before we.
I see.
Yeah.
So you would come down Pine Street, what we call Pine Street now.
Well,
William Head
we
Road, or-
did some haul in Pine Street, but remember, hills was not a nice thing to
That's
have.
true.
So we come through here quite a lot because the hills wasn't so steep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we did come down there some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's how Jubilee Road got its beginnings. Because I only remember Jubilee Road coming up as far as just below here at the Woodworth
Yes,
House,
yes.
and until they built through the dump and all that sort of thing.
Yes, there was one of the biggest dumps the country ever seen. Yeah. And it was years that I never got in the place. And when I got on the bus, the principal said to me, there's children down in here, and told me where to go, and I went there. Well, there were children everywhere, because a lot of them was walking to Bridgewater. I didn't know who was going to school, so I spoke to some of them, and they said no, they was going to Bridgewater. That day, these 3 bushes, they didn't come. So that's the first I was down in there since I was a boy, and I could hardly believe where I was. Yeah, it's a fine spot.
Yes, yeah.
Well built up,
Yep,
fine place.
That's right,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
But it all would have been wild, or pretty wild when you were
Yes.
when you
Oh,
were
yes.
a boy.
Yeah.
Okay, most of the food was produced at home. Now, as the farm progressed, as you as it progressed, did you clear more land, or
Well,
was the land?
I did after I took over.
Okay,
I
not
cleared
until-
quite a lot more
not
land.
until then.
Yes,
And you went to school where?
Clarabelle Mill.
In Conquerall Mills. Okay.
Yeah.
And you told me that boys left school pretty early. And
Well, in the big families, you almost had to,
uh-huh.
you know, because you had to work when you could earn the day's pay. And that wasn't very big at them times, you
No.
know.
And would you be sent out to work, or were you working on the farm?
No, I did work for some people around the place, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'd be sent out to work on somebody else's farm or somebody else's
yes,
mill or
yes,
something.
but not as often. Most of the time it was around home,
Mm-hmm.
but there was times, yes.
What activities did you, as a child, what activities did you do in the wintertime?
Well, in the winter, mainly skate, stuff like that, coast.
Down there on Public Over,
Yeah, right
Lake?
there in the lake.
right
yeah.
there in the lake.
We drag a bunch of brush out of the woods after before it got dark, and then build a big brush fire there and skate around.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, yeah.
And so you built the fire on the side of the road, on the side
on
of
the lake.
right on the lake,
Right on the lake.
and it didn't melt the ice.
Oh, no.
So in those days, the ice was much thicker than it was today.
You wouldn't go on less than a foot. And I've seen them cut ice there that was 2 feet or more.
Okay, so they cut ice there too.
Oh, yes, they cut ice
Okay.
there, yes.
Would your parents or your father cut your own ice there?
No, he never cut ice. There was a few families just below us,
Okay,
down the road a little
Okay,
further, the
okay.
stewards. They cut it.
I see. Did your father work away from the farm?
He was away once. He got a job at the highway back in the Fogler Cove Road when they fixed that up
I
back
see.
in there.
I
Yes,
see.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. What was the transportation like at that time?
Well, he had an old truck that he bought from get the name of the place down here now, where they built engines.
Oh, Acadia Gas?
Acadia Gas.
Is
yeah.
that right?
Yeah, he bought that.
I see.
And he used that for hauling stuff around back there on the
I
road.
see.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Did the farm have electricity?
Oh, it never got electricity till the early 50s.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were on the farm,
Yes.
you know, you had the farm by that
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
What about telephones? How many telephones were there around you? Any or
Oh, did we have a telephone when you come back? Do you know about it?
No, it was after that.
Yeah.
okay.
It was about 1.5 miles up the road at the
Yeah.
nearest telephone.
Okay.
See, we used to use the phone in the powerhouse, and then Eds and Hibbs, they had a phone, and we'd go there sometimes.
Okay. Now you brought me right to the powerhouse, to the building of the power dam.
Yeah.
Do you remember the building of the
Oh,
power
yes,
dam?
my brother worked on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when was that?
About 1939, I think they built it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And what was there before the dam?
Mills.
Yeah.
Yeah. the old
Yeah.
Quite a
mills.
few mills.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At one point I heard Ralph Hibbs speak and he said 7 mills on the Petite River.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, he
Yes.
had them all lined up.
Yes.
You know,
Well,
when
it
he
was the
talking
mill
about
above. The one, the two that was there.
them. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
I remember the dam as a child.
yeah.
And, you know, probably 44, 45 was when I remember
Yeah.
going to the dam a number of times.
See, that didn't do the community down there any good, the powerhouse.
Oh, is that right?
No, because the mills, the people used it to have lumber sawed, selling it, you know.
Made
And
flowers.
it didn't, it wasn't river enough for a powerhouse. And what we found in mills on the rivers or on the brooks was when times got better and people started cutting timber, in back of us there, we'd get these snows, but they'd take a long time to go away in the spring, and you'd saw off a snow water maybe for a couple of months.
Okay.
And that's what happened to the powerhouse, you see.
I see.
The
powerhouse took the water.
Well, the powerhouse didn't bother us. But what happened with the powerhouse, it got so that the wood in back of the powerhouse there, up in the hillville there, and up through the mines there in Campertown, they lost the same thing through the snow. You see, because the snow melted away so fast, what timber got cut.
Okay.
And it
so the clear cutting, and that's well, I call it clear cutting. But I mean the cutting.
Yeah.
Just diminished the amount of water that was there.
Clear cutting is what it was.
Yeah.
Say it whichever way they want to say it, but that's what it is.
Yeah. So that mill, that waterway that came from Fancy Lake, I mean, I think of it as being damming up Fancy Lake, but it was also attached to that mill out in Hebbville, or no, to the other dam that was in Hebbville.
Oh yes, well it come through there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where the water comes through.
I see.
It was all the Petite River started up in there, you know.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, did people in the country pay for things, or how did they pay for things? Did they barter?
Well, there was some, especially when we was in Newcomland. Even when we was up in Conquerall Mills, if you want to take something across to Dublin, Gordon Rumpke was the only fellow down there that I know that did that. Now, there may have been more, you know.
Yeah.
But we dealt there with him.
You dealt with him in West Dublin?
He took a lot of our shingles, which he shipped to overseas.
Yeah.
And he would take them for groceries or feed or whatever. Yeah.
I see. Did you have a job off the farm?
Off and on, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Tell me about when you went away from the farm.
Well, I worked away sometimes, like down around Crosstown to the mills, just by day, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
What mills would you work at?
I worked with Wilf and Roy quite a bit.
Okay.
And then when Grant got set up, I was down there a lot.
Grant
Crouse.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He would get me if he needed some extra people, you know. I'd be one of them. Mm-hmm. I would saw a little for him, you know, if he needed that, whatever. Do whatever I could do to help.
I see.
Yeah.
You told me that you went to Goose Bay. You went up to Goose Bay to work.
Yes, we went up to Goose Bay.
When was that?
I believe the first time it was 52.
Okay, so it was after the war.
Oh, yes.
So
yes.
What were they doing in Goose Bay then? Were they building another, more of the airport?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they must have been extending what the Air Force had during the war. Because there was an Air Force base there during the war.
Yes, yes. But they were a little scared, as I was told, of Russia.
Yes, okay. So that was kind of the beginning of the DuLine concept, that they were afraid of the... Okay, that they were building
I spent about a month up in Pine Tree.
Pine Tree.
You can see it sometimes when they give out the weather forecast in Goose Bay.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
So it's north of Goose Bay.
Yeah. Okay. Goose Bay there.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was there. I went up the second time then, but that time we didn't stay long. My brother got sick.
I see.
And I came home with him and stayed.
I see. So when did you actually sort of take over the farm? In quotation marks.
I took over the farm, I believe it was 50, something like 57 or 8, something like that.
Yes.
No.
And when did you move over to the other side of the lake, to the one that you showed me, or?
No, Dad did that.
Oh, okay.
He liked to move.
Oh, okay. So he left you on the other farm.
Yes, because I had most of the cattle. Now there was some cattle. We put some cattle over there, you know.
Sure.
But,
yeah.
But I had the cows, the milk cows, so.
Okay, so you sort of developed the milk cow.
Yes, I looked after that.
The milk cow business.
Me and the boys.
Okay, and what were you doing with the milk?
Dairy, Bridgewater.
Selling it to the Bridgewater dairy?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. Now, can you tell me the story about that?
Well, that's a kind of a political thing, I think.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good story.
Well, what happened was that we couldn't get things clean enough to suit the inspector, and I forget his name, but anyway, he was there half the time. So my father worked around Billy Ernst a lot when he was a boy, so he said to me, let's go over and see what Billy does. So we went over, and we got there around 10 o'clock in the morning, and the stable hadn't been cleaned out. Billy told us from the day before, about 3 o'clock, this young fella come in and cleaned it out. And he had a litter of young pigs right in the middle of his barn, and the old sow couldn't get out, but the pigs could, and they was in this manure, and it was terrible. So when the Mr. Inspector come back to our farm the next time, I showed him the door. And he turned around about halfway and looked, and I said, you better keep right on going, because I mean what I'm saying. And I took the milk up to the dairy the next morning, and that was it.
They let you come with your milk, or
they didn't know nothing about that at that time yet, I don't think.
I see.
But I kind of got an idea they was working together, but who knows?
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see.
So then we had separators, so we separated the milk and took it over to the creamery.
So you separated the milk and you took the cream to the creamery.
And you fed the pigs and stuff.
I see.
Yeah.
The milk. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's what you did with the milk afterwards.
Yes.
You fed the pigs.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
The pigs and
Okay.
calves and stuff like
Now
that.
tell me about how that business with the creamery evolved.
Well, the creamery was going all right, but all of a sudden, it just closed. He
Yeah.
didn't let us know, and we had 2 big cans of cream had just went in that morning. Yeah. So then we got a meeting going out to the valley, and there was a bunch of them out there was interested into it because he was getting cream from out there too.
So how many farmers around here would be selling to
Oh
the
gosh,
head
at
creamery?
that time was quite a few.
I see.
I would like to say just a few, but
Yeah.
nothing today compared to what it was, you know.
No.
Just
Because
about
he-
everybody kept a cow.
Yes, and they did sell their cream
Oh
to
yes,
Yeah.
the
to
extra cream they
LaHaye
sold
to
over there.
LaHaye Creamery.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we had a meeting out there, and they hired a lawyer. They was going to straighten them out, but nothing ever happened.
No.
So we got in with a dairy creamed in Bush.
Yes. Yeah.
And some fellas from up the back of New Germany there, they hauled the cream down.
I see.
But then I don't know what they was trying to do, scare us to get more money, but they started talking that they was going to quit. So I made up my mind, get the hell out of that.
Get out of the dairy business.
Yeah, so that's when we went in beef.
And
Because
that's when
then that we could control. you
Yes.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's when you went into beef cattle or
Yes.
had a herd of beef cattle
Yes.
rather than.
Yes, yes.
So what breeds of beef cattle?
Well, I
did you
bought 5 cows, purebred Durhams,
have? Okay.
and we started that way.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now there were some of the older cows, but as I got calves to take their place, we got rid of them.
Did you have your own bull?
We did have, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you changed from Durhams to Herefords, or
what happened was, you see, we did all right with the Durhams, but then we got into the Herefords. People was into oxen around here at that time,
I see.
and we did pretty well on selling steers, you know, because if you had a brockle-faced steer, you had $600 right.
Is that
Oh,
right?
yes, yeah,
And if you had a pair,
yeah. And we did already.
then you were
Oh,
better off.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But after a while, that started to peter out.
Mhm.
Then we got into the chalet. They seem to be doing pretty good.
I see.
Yeah.
Now, have you always taken your cows or your steers to sale in Bridgewater?
Yeah, we helped to start the sale.
I
Our
see.
farm helped start the sale
Okay.
in the exhibition grounds.
And when did that start?
Oh my God, that's I can't tell you for sure.
No, that's a long time.
But that's before we were married.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that right?
That's a long
Yeah,
time.
that's right. It
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he set up right over in front of where they pulled the horses there.
Yes.
That's where it started.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
And so they all come in for just one day, or is it?
Yes,
I mean,
there'll be.
I see the sign now that usually it's one day.
Oh yes,
but,
there's no cattle around here. No.
No, I know.
No,
I realize
there's no
that
cattle around here. No.
there's
No.
very few, but
Yeah, but to haul them to Truro, you've got to have a lot more money. So as long as we can sell them here, that's what we do.
I
Here
see.
we get pretty good prices. Yeah.
And so do you keep them? You keep them a year and then sell
Yes,
them after?
yes,
You know.
we keep them over winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It does two things. It helps us with the warmth of the barn,
Oh, I see.
you know, because
Okay.
it's hard to keep the barns from freezing, the
Sure.
water from freezing. So
Yeah.
this way it don't. Once in a while we'll get window open too far, you know, but
Yeah.
in general it works pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you have quite a bit of land up there to graze them on too.
Oh yes.
You have plenty of-
Yes, they make a lot of hay too.
I
Oh,
see.
yes. Yeah.
Okay, you
Yeah.
make hay. Now, you told me about back in the early days in the farm that everything was stored in the basement, and you told me about mangles, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
still don't know what mangles are.
A mangle is grows to be about that long, or
Okay.
could be longer,
Yeah,
and about that big around in general.
okay. Is it sort of like a turnip consistency, or
Well,
is it a, you know?
No, they're more like a beet.
Okay,
I was gonna
They're
say, today you can buy those long beets,
yes,
you
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
they're a lot like that, only bigger.
I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, we grow
I
turnips.
don't know if anybody grows them anymore.
Oh, I don't know. We grow turnips and mangles and stuff like that for the cattle, you know.
I see.
Yeah.
And so your cattle were pretty self-sufficient as far as
Yes.
living off the land is
Well,
concerned.
they are now.
Are they?
Because we don't
you-
buy ground feed. We don't
Okay.
do that anymore.
Okay,
We had got into that, and we trashed, you know, our grain, grew grain,
Yes.
and trashed. But the weather has changed enough that if you couldn't get your grain out in May, you couldn't reap it in August.
yeah,
And then you got into the rain. We lost acres of it already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I've heard that happen, you know,
Yeah.
my cousin's family
Yeah,
too.
so we felt that the small amount that we was using when we had horses, it was better to buy it.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. I want you to tell me about the pit props. Did you ever cut pit props?
Oh yes.
Okay, tell me
Oh.
about pit props and
Just
explain what pit props are.
Well, pit props is just what they say. They go into pits, at coal mines and stuff like that, and they prop up the ceiling,
Okay,
different lengths.
different lengths.
Yeah.
And they got shipped out of Bridgewater. There are a lot of them have been shipped out of Bridgewater.
Oh, they all shipped out of Bridgewater.
Yeah.
There was a pit prop yard over in the Pine Grove area over here, you know. Yeah.
And because I remember that was the thing that I can remember is, you know, knowing that ships were coming up to the government
Yes,
wharf to
yes.
load pit props.
That's
that
right.
was
Yes.
that's
yeah.
all I ever knew about
Yeah,
was that
yeah.
that's what they were loading.
Yeah.
Was pit props.
Yeah, well, later years they loaded lumber there.
Yes.
But
Yeah. But
pit props.
but when I was a little girl,
Yeah.
you'd hear the word pit props, and I
Yeah.
never knew what
Yeah.
pit props really were.
Anybody spent a day's work on loading pit props was tired.
Is that
It
right?
was a hard job.
So what kind of wood was used? Spruce?
It's
Or is it-
spruce and fir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, mostly.
I see.
Yeah.
So tell me the story about George Croce taking the
Yeah.
pit props to Bridgewater.
Well, George, he cut quite a lot of pit props. And Briar Hurdle, he would haul them for him. Briar had this big truck. So George cut a big load. They loaded it on, and one Saturday morning they landed over there in the pit prop yard, and nobody there. They had made up their mind over there that they wasn't going to work no more on Saturday. but never let people know. So they come over town, and they'd come across the old bridge, And then when they'd up past the post office, well, George said to Briar, hold on a little. He said, I seen that by the last fella going into the post office there that always scaled that wood. So Briar stopped the truck, and he went up, and George went up and got him. Well, he said, well, you didn't know it. I'm going to go over and scale him out for you. So George let him go until he had his check and everything, and then he looked at him and said, well, now, how long Monday morning do you fellas plan on staying open?
Yeah. So scaling was weighing them, or?
No, he scaled them, yeah.
What's that?
Well, a card of wood scaled
Okay.
with so much,
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
That's what it is, okay.
Yeah.
Now, tell me also the story about Willie Wynot delivering the...
Yeah. Yeah, well, Mr. Knox down here and Willie had got together, and Mr. Knox wanted to load a Commodore for any garden.
I see.
So Willie brought him up a load, but when he got there, well, there was nobody around, so he went to the door, knocked at the door, and this lady come to the door, and then he wanted to know if Mr. Knox was around, and before she answered him, she said, it's not Mr. Knox at all, it's Mr. Knox. Well, he said, you tell Mr. Knox that Mr. Kowainak was out here with a load of shit and you don't know where to put it. Yeah.
Now, did you go to town on Saturday nights?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the attraction, let's say?
Well, we go especially to the show.
Okay.
Shopping, I don't think we did an awful lot of shopping unless for something to eat.
Okay.
Oh, Christmas time.
Yeah, Christmas time.
Where did you go to the movies?
The old Capitol Theater.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Can you remember how much you paid?
20 cents.
20 cents, okay.
Yeah,
A lady was in here yesterday who paid 10.
I wouldn't know.
But she's a little older than you.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's what I paid. But I
Well,
thought,
no, I
I know it
think.
would cost us 20 cents to come to town. Maybe that's where I'm mixed up.
Okay, so it cost you 20 cents to
Yeah,
come to town.
Tom
'cause
Bolivar.
How did you get there?
Tom Bolivar had a truck. He trucked all week. And on Saturday, he come to town 3 trips. One in the morning with the cream. Anybody had cream that they wanted him to bring. And fellas that want to come to town to shop. So then in the afternoon, he'd make this here feed trip,
Yep.
And then he, in the evening, he'd bring us in, all us younger people
Yeah.
would come in. Yeah.
Yeah. So did the truck sort of have benches around the inside of it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes, they had to have seats. Even back then, the Mounties wouldn't bother you that much, but you had to have seats. And Tom was bothered some. But the people could have sat down. They didn't sit down. But when the Mounties come on, then
Then you had to sit down.
they sat down.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that only went on for a while, and then of course they shifted the time on us. They closed on Saturday
And they opened on Friday. On
But then
Friday.
you see, we had no way
Yeah.
to town.
Yeah. I see.
So that pretty well petered out.
I see.
And also it made it bad for us because even if we was working away as young fellas, we'd get our money on Saturday night. And we'd go to
Okay.
town. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it was very important to all of us. I worked with Roy and Wilford. And when I was down there, they wouldn't stop early enough for me to get to town. So Jessie, Roy's wife, she said to me one Saturday evening, it was too late to come home, so I just sat there a while. She said, when I was your age, you used to go to town Saturday night. And I told her what happened. She was a great woman to rock. She was sitting in our rocking chair. She just stopped. You mean to tell me that's why you're not going to town? I said, yes. I can't get home in time to get ready to go catch the truck. Well, you will next Saturday. Yeah, right, that damn boy next Saturday, she said, dinner time, she said, you come in whenever you want to, and I'll have your supper ready for you, and I'll pay you, and you can go home. And that's where it was. So it was really,
Yeah.
you know, was
Yeah.
important
Yeah.
to everybody.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. What do you remember about town on the about the main street too?
Oh, Main Street, when I remember it, would go out with sleighs.
Yes.
And in the wintertime, there'd be holes that deep, like a kitchen snow road, you know.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was-
Yeah.
And Main Street is where you did your shopping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There must have been 3 or 4 grocery
Where
stores.
Where was your post office in Conquerall?
It was right on the corner of the Fancy Lake, where the Fancy Lake Road goes down.
Yes.
And you swing right to come over towards the bridge.
Yes.
There's a house there now.
Oh,
That's
okay.
yeah.
Okay, that was where the post office. So the
Yeah.
post office and the school were right
Yes.
together.
Yes.
And was there a little general store there too?
There was a little store, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And one fella kept it there. It was pretty good. What he kept, he couldn't keep everything. But what he kept today, he kept yesterday, and tomorrow, and so on, you know. And you knew what you could go there and buy. And, but, of course, when everybody...
But when you were on the farm, you would have some hens for eggs, and you would have things like
Oh,
that.
yes,
So it really, I mean, the things you had to buy at the store, there weren't a whole lot.
No, cigarettes, tobacco, candy.
Are there any particular stores that you remember in Bridgewater?
Oh, most of the Hillerman's, I think, was the ones, because we always unloaded there off of Tom's truck, and there's where we always got on.
Okay,
But we shopped around in
sure,
different
yeah,
stores, you know.
yeah.
But the Hillman's,
But the
looked
Hillman
forward
store
to
was the, at
They
that
look-
end of town.
They
Yeah.
looked forward to that, you know, to the people, and I think they did a good business.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
well,
yeah.
did you visit the doctor or the doctor come to you?
Sometimes you went to the doctor, but most of the time you went to the doctor.
Uh-huh.
Now, older people, if he had to come, he'd come.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
father,
Yeah,
your father
yeah.
was one of them.
Well, I just, I think of people coming into the office and coming in even on Saturday nights. That was.
Oh, yes,
you know,
yes.
you
Well,
know, that
yes,
was-
just the way they do it today.
A lady yesterday told me that she was a dentist assistant. She was Dr. Schaffner's. No, she was the one before Dr. Schaffner. Dr. Monroe, I think, was his name. Anyway, he had dental practice on Saturday nights.
Yeah.
And a child, the mother waited until just before we're going home to come and get the child's tooth pulled out. Last thing on the list, go to the
Yeah.
dentist. That just sounded like, boy.
You see, them days everybody worked together. Them kind of people, the doctors, the dentists, they knew when people could come in.
Yes,
You know.
yeah.
So that
But
changed.
a few years back, you often went with the doctor that came into the community
Oh, yes.
to
Yeah.
take them to where they were supposed to be going.
Yes, you
They
didn't know where
did.
to go.
They did come to the house.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
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 When he was going somewhere, he didn't know where he was going, he'd come get me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And when he was 1.5 years old, the doctor came by bicycle. So that would have been back quite a few years ago.
My goodness. Came
Yeah.
down to Mount Pleasant or down to
No,
or
that would have been
in
to
Cumberland?
Conquerall
To
Mills.
Conquerall
Yeah,
Mills.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that right? By bicycle. Well, I mean, I could do that.
Yeah.
I went by
But,
bicycle down that road too.
Yes.
I remember one time we got out with one of the doctors, I don't remember which one it was, and I said, you want to watch out because it's a pretty bad hole in the road over here. Well, he said, you hang on. I don't think the front end of the car hit the hole at all. Yeah.
So what's different about the way you farm today and the way you used to farm?
Oh, you could never believe it. It was all hard work back years ago. You know.
So what's gotten easier? What things have made it
Well,
easier?
now, the hay made it a lot easier.
Okay.
Yeah, see, we started first baling. Well, we made our hay loose.
Yes.
But when we got a little further ahead, I bought the baler and stuff like that, and we baled our hay.
Okay.
So then we come along quite a few years and decided that we'd use the roll because 2 or 3 of us, actually one, could do it all when it comes right down to that. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can roll it and leave it in the land until you get around to picking it up.
Yep.
You know?
And you've got a
So-
tractor.
Oh yes, we got 4
Yeah.
of them. Yeah.
You've got 4
Well,
tractors.
there's 4 of them there.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Well, because it's the mechanization.
Oh
is-
yes. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you were you milking by hand?
I milked most of them by hand. Now,
Yeah.
the boys learned to milk too,
Sure.
and Joan, I believe, learned to milk.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 I'm not too sure that Julia.
Well, Julia might have, but
They had one cow that was so easy to milk that everybody
we.
learned to milk.
Everybody could milk.
Even
it.
I
Yeah,
learned to milk.
yes, everybody learned to milk on her.
Yeah.
But we had, we kept this one cow then after we kept beef cattle that I was talking about out there. And Jordan, our one grandson, he went to show these fellows from Ontario that was down there how to milk cows. I didn't know nothing about it. When I got in the barn, indeed, well, here was the milk stool that I used, and the dish there that I fed the cats, and a bucket. He had milked this stuff out for to show the kids and fed the cats.
And
Yeah.
he had done that.
Oh, yeah.
How old was he?
God, I don't
Oh,
remember.
probably 5, 6
Oh,
years.
yes,
Yeah,
he wasn't
he's not
that
Quite a
old.
few,
But
and
he
now
knows-
he's
Well-
21. You
But
know,
I,
so
he knows how to do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
most of them things you learned after the fact,
Yes.
not
Yeah.
when they were doing it.
Not. Yeah. Yeah. You learned about it after
Yeah.
the fact. That's right. Yeah.
But also in the woods with your tractor, you have
Oh, yes.
equipment that
Oh,
they
yeah.
didn't have years ago, like power saws and what's that thing you used to pull the logs out?
Winch.
The winch, and so
Oh,
it's
yeah.
all been, you know.
Mechanized.
Yes.
Just 5 or 6 years ago, we bought a log loader,
I see.
and that just hauled the logs out and could
Yeah.
load them, take them
Yeah.
into the mill and unload them in.
Now, would you rent that to somebody else, or do you do work for anybody else, or just for yourselves with
Oh,
that
mostly
sort of
for
equipment?
ourselves. Oh, I'd help somebody out,
Okay.
but you don't get along very well letting your gear out too much,
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Some people you could, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
but no. But I'd help out, could, yeah.
So how many acres of land have you got in cleared or in woodland?
Well, to be honest, I wouldn't really know, but that would run off that I know of. But I would imagine that altogether between 300 and 400 acres.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
It's just, I drive down these roads and I wonder how many, how big is this? Where does,
Well, if you was up on the hill, if you up on top of that hill, if it's had the field glasses, you can see it all from there.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, you know where Joan lives.
Yes.
The house above that came off of his place. Jones did, Williams did, Adams.
They just got house lots I own
Yeah.
back of the wood.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then it runs down past our place.
Yeah.
Yeah, to, the first house on the same side as Bill.
So would Public Cove Lake be considered your lake sort of thing, or
Oh.
or your land surrounds that?
Pretty
that-
much, yeah, pretty
that
much.
lake.
Yeah, pretty much. There is some land belongs to another fellow there, but most of it is round out.
Have you ever had any forest fires down there? In that area?
We had the starting of a couple, but we got them before they got it.
I see.
Yeah,
I see.
yeah.
Can you think of anything else that we should have talked about that we didn't? I know. I just thought of something. I wanted to hear about how to make sauerkraut, Clarabelle.
Oh, well, that's what he looks at.
okay,
Oh,
when-
I'm there. We do it as a family now,
Okay.
you know, where they all come together and some cuts this, you know, the stump out and others does the cutting and he adds the salt and
Well, to start off with, I go down to Rodenheiser's, Second Peninsula, buy the cabbage.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then the whole family and some of the outside the family gets, you know, we had a couple of older people. Now Patricia's mother, she's in the barrel always, you know. And then there
she's
was-
never there to cut it in, but
Oh no, but
she gets some of it.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So how long does it take?
To cut it in.
Well, that
Well,
would depend on how many cabbages you had, how long it took
yes.
to cut it.
Oh, we would do that. Talking and going at it maybe an hour and a half.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
And about, what, 300 pounds?
Yes, around that. Yeah, and then it takes until it gets done working.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually around 3 weeks.
3 weeks,
Yeah.
okay. And so you just put salt in it?
Yes.
And what do you put it in? Do you have wooden barrels or do
No,
you
plastic.
plastic?
Yes. We used to put in wooden barrels, but they're pretty hard to come by
Yeah,
now.
okay.
And then it has to be stomped very
Uh-huh.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
compress it.
yeah. And do you make turnip croat?
No, she makes it with vinegar. We used to do that.
I
but
see.
With so much salt stuff, we had to get away from a lot.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we still
It's no
have,
wonder we're all still alive in Lunenburg County
Right.
when you think of that.
Yeah.
we still have pickled beans and salt pork, our pickled beef, and sauerkraut. And you're not supposed to eat any of that, so you have to work it in. You mustn't have
Too much of it at one time. Yeah,
So it's-
yeah, that's right.
But the one thing that wasn't touched on,
Yes.
and that was the removal of snow, like
Oh.
from our driveway, you know where we live.
Yes.
Yeah.
On
And
a where
yes, where with lots of wind,
yes.
and many a time that they would get together, and I think one time he done it himself, and that was to clean it with a shovel. You know, we
Yes.
didn't have a tractor or
I
a
shoveled it
snowblower.
all that one time alone,
Yeah.
remember that?
Yeah. And then the next storm, you've got those snowbanks that fills in. So we have stayed up there. Well, actually, when our first child was born, I walked down on the Wednesday, and he was born on Friday. So, and then when we brought him home, why, we did have a horse, and Grandpa came down and picked us up and brought us to the house.
Uh-huh.
So, but now they have a snowblower, and they have a tractor with the front end loader, and
Yeah, well, we're equipped for that
and
stuff.
now winter just isn't like it used to be,
No,
you know.
no.
So
Now, in wintertime when you went to school, was the road plowed?
No. No.
So you had, from your place, that was a little
Well, now
walk.
when I got old enough to do it, I used to plow with horses or oxen.
Okay,
V plow like that,
Yes,
you know?
okay.
Yeah.
but the thing is that one lady told me about walking to school
yes.
and her father and grandfather shoveling the path
Yeah.
in Concord, down
Yeah,
in
well, there
Concord
was
Bank,
places, yes.
where the
Yeah.
fathers shoveled
Yeah.
and everybody kind of came along and
Well, you see, there was a law there that you had to get out and help open the road.
oh, I see.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
There was a guy picked for that job, and he would see everybody on the road, and you'd go and shovel it out.
So that was kind of a government job.
Well, no, there's no government about it.
Oh, is that right?
it was
No.
a free will thing.
No.
Do it.
That's a free will offering.
And that was probably done.
Well, I meant that the guy who kind of told everybody to do it.
No,
was the-
he was
oh,
just, he
okay.
could just be anybody, you know, as
I
long as
see.
he was picked to do it. You
I
know.
see.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, my knowledge.
Yeah.
But then if there was a small snow that I could throw at the horses, why I used to do that.
I
you
see.
know, Yeah.
And
Yeah.
lots of times you walked over the banks.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I jump on the horse's back and walk.
Can you think of anything else that we've left out?
No, I can't think of anything else, but I thought about that when you was talking about the new equipment.
Mhm.
It was one of the pieces that meant the most to me.
Sure, I can understand that.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you very much. This has been great.